Hello everyone, this is an extension of the tutorial done by the NetNinja, and the specific tutorial that I'm talking about is Flutter 5 Firebase app tutorial number 5, uh, anonymous sign-in. And I was having trouble because the version of Firebase has changed, and they have changed the way in which you can use the Firebase auth. And I'm going to talk briefly as much as I can about the changes that I made that enabled me to use the Firebase auth. Okay, the first of all, before I start, I want to acknowledge that I'm not an expert. I'm just learning, and I may not give you the perfect solution or the perfect explanation, but I will do my best. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is that rather than installing the older versions of in your pubspec.yml, right? So rather than installing the older versions that NetNinja mentioned, like Firebase auth version and Cloud Firestore versions, the older versions, you install the latest version, and you know how to get to the latest versions. If you open the appropriate package, you will know by going to the installing tab the latest version that is available, and you can include that in your code over here. Okay, that's the first step. So you include the latest versions over here in pubspec.yml, and also in build.gradle, which is in Android core build.gradle, not the one inside the app. Android build gradle. Rather than installing the older version, you include the latest version available. Okay, first of all. Secondly, your lifesaver, your main resource, is the documentation given in this Firebase auth document. All right, so they have not so if you go to the main page and you go to readme, you will find that the tutorial links are mentioned over here, and if you open this tutorial and this one, you will get access to the main documentation, and this is the main place which you can use to install all the dependencies that are required for your project. Okay, so first of all, the things that you need to include are in pubspec.yml are this Firebase auth that you've already included, but other than that, you will have to include this Firebase core as well. Okay, so include that in your pubspec.yml over here like this. Firebase.core has been included over here, right? So these are the main things that need to be done on pubspec.yml. After that, in build gradle, we've already mentioned that you include the latest version. So these are all both done. After that, you will need to update it, but we will do that afterwards. Okay. So what you do is you follow these steps one after another. Okay. So you open your terminal and run these commands. Flutter channel stable. You go on the terminal. You view the terminal. Open the terminal over here. Okay, so you open the terminal and you run these commands one after another. Okay, so I've already done run these commands, so I don't need to do it. You can just copy paste over here, copy, and then so you can just paste it over here. Okay, so after you run both these commands. Okay, so you run this command. I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again. Okay, so you run these commands and it's going to install all the dependencies. Okay, this one and this one specifically. Okay, and then you make these changes, and then you run flutter pub get to update all your project, and then you need to restart your project. But this is not it. You need to make some more changes. Okay, so I've mentioned pubspec, build gradle, auth, and main dot. Okay, so there are some changes that need to be made in auth. The class that we created, we go to library and then services and auth. Okay, so if you go over here, so if you look at this, that the NetNinja uses some commands that are not used in the current Firebase auth. All right, so let me show you his video. He mentions he uses auth result and Firebase user, right? So these are not, they can't be used anymore, right? So instead of them, you use user credentials and user. So instead of using auth result, you use user credential, and instead of auth of Firebase user, you use user. And I've used a question mark over here which indicates that this value can be null. Okay, so you do that. This is the one of the changes that you need to make. And one final change is when you go to main.dart, you need to initialize Firebase, right? So this is an essential command, because without this you won't be able to use Firebase. So the first thing you do is you call this widgets flutter binding ensure initialize. I'm not really sure what this means right now. I try to read it up, but you can do so as well. If you go to this document, flutter.dev, and architecture layers, you will be able to find, you try to understand this basic framework. So I got this solution from one of the Stack Overflow solutions given, and they've mentioned that in order for us to initialize, we need to run this command. It kind of like builds a link between our widgets and our engine. So I'm not really sure how it works, but this is required. So so in your main function, you add these two commands: widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialize, and then await Firebase to initializing app. So you await, this is an async function, you wait for the Firebase to initialize before you run your app. Rather than doing a hot reload, I recommend you to stop and you do a complete build, start debugging, right? Run and by pressing F5, right? So after you've done that, you should be able to get the required results. If I go to open my debug console, and if I press this button, you'll be able to see that I've signed in, and I get the user ID as well. So this is it. Thank you very much.